welcome to our second meeting in May of West Perth Council. Just before we call the meeting to order, I would ask Council and staff will take a moment of reflection. Okay, thank you. Just going to ask everybody on Zoom. We have the windows open here in the council chamber, and there's some trucks outside. Is that noise carrying through or not? It's okay. We'll leave the windows open. All right, good. Thanks. Okay, first item then is the confirmation of the agenda as it was circulated on the weekend. Do we have a mover or seconder to confirm the agenda? Councillor Marshall, and seconded by Councillor Harold. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda? If you find that you're into a situation as the meeting goes on, you can always declare it at that time, no problem. Next item then, I guess, is the consent agenda, and we do have, I believe it's 13 items on the consent agenda. Yes, 13. Is there anything there that anybody would like clarified or pulled, or just a simple explanation of what it is? Okay, I don't see anybody waving their hands or anything. So a motion that we accept the consent agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor Bell and seconded by Councillor Matheson. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. All right, so it brings us to the first item of the main part of the meeting, and that's reports and planning and development. And the first item is an application for consent to sever by John McKercher on behalf of Howard and Valerie Fanson. And David Gundrum is going to help us as the lead planner on this one. So I will turn it over to David, and you can do your magic here.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. I'll try. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. The first application that we are reporting on tonight is application B0821. This is an application for surplus farm severance in the Fullerton ward, which has been submitted by Mr. John McKercher on behalf of owners Howard and Valerie Fanson. I'm just going to share a screen for the benefit of council's information concerning this application. So can everybody see the image up on the screen there?
Yes, that looks good, Dave.
So this is the yellow shown on the image represents the proposed boundaries of the severed lot containing the surplus farm dwelling, whereas the red boundaries delineate what would be the retained farm lot in this case. So as mentioned, the farm property contains a farm dwelling as well as an accessory structure as detailed in our report. The farm dwelling has been deemed surplus as a result of a consolidated farm operation, consistent with section 5 of the County of Perth official plan policy that permits severance of surplus farm dwellings. Staff have reviewed the application for severance and have found that it meets all of the criteria of the Section 5 policy in the County of Perth official plan, save and except for the criteria that concerns minimum lot size of the severed lot. The County of Perth official plan under the policy states that the area of land to be severed containing the surplus farm dwelling shall be limited to the minimum required for the residential use and sewage and water services. In our review, we have found that there exists a grassed area found to the south of the dwelling. I'll just scroll my cursor over here. So this general area here, which doesn't contain any services for the residential use nor any buildings or structures. Staff are recommending that West Perth Council recommend approval of the application to County of Perth Land Division Committee, subject to the 9 conditions in our report, including a condition 5, which would reduce the size of the severed lot from what is shown on the image here to what is shown on the second report photo image here, basically eliminating an area found to the south of the dwelling, which would constitute approximately 0.7 hectares or 1.73 acres. So that is a summary of the general intent of the application. Again, we are recommending approval, however, with a reduction to the size of the severed lot area. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have at the present time. And I'll leave the image for the benefit of council. I'll leave the image up on the screen for the time being, unless Mayor McKenzie, you want me to take it down for discussion. So.
No, that's fine. You can leave it there if you wish, David. Now, I know that John McKercher is on here, and I don't know if he wants to add anything further or any comments at this time.
Yes, Mayor McKenzie. Once again, I appreciate David's work on the file. David's does great work for the County of Perth and West Perth, so thank you, David. I think the only issue or only conversation point is the minimum size. You know, it creates quite an unusual shaped lot. On this property to the east of the house is where the septic bed lies. Behind the house and accessory building has not been used for any row crop production. By maintaining a normal straight lot line, it does create a regular shaped lot. You know, it's limited. It goes straight back to where the ditch is. The ditch is a natural break on the property. To create that odd shaped lot, I don't know if it's really, I understand the strict language of the official plan, the provincial policy statement, but I'm not sure whether it really achieves anything practically. There's no ability really for that area to be used for any sort of row crop production. And with the barn being taken down as part of the consent, and with that location, it's just there will not be a livestock facility built close to this the house in the near future. So, you know, the thought process was to keep the lot size regular shaped, as regular as possible, using the ditch as the natural break, and using the setback on the west side of the garage as the natural lot line heading south. So, I mean, that's the client's position, is that they thought that made a reasonable shaped parcel. But once again, we do understand David's position on the official plan. So,
okay, if David, if you can unshare your screen, and then I can ask if there's any questions from the council members. Okay, any questions with regards to this application? Deputy Mayor Wright.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask, when did we open it up to 4 and 5 acres, David? I was sat on the committee when we started it. As far as I'm concerned, it should be the minimum distance. If John would like it, it should go straight to the east then. And I know it's not row crop, it's pasture. I know the gentleman who has the pasture has cattle on it this year. But are we going to start going to 5 and 8 acres? Like, this is what, I can't, 1.7 acres is 4 acres, right? Are we going to start doing bigger and bigger and bigger? I don't agree with this, so just so you know.
Okay, I guess, you know, the fact, Doug, that, you know, it's going with the municipal drain. And I guess I could ask John this, he's the lawyer here. And I think he did kind of indicate you can't get in there with any farm equipment per se to do anything with it, can you?
Mr. Mayor, no, I don't think it would be practical to. Once again, if it wasn't for the location of the ditch, I'd agree with Deputy Mayor Wright. You wouldn't have this application with that size of parcel. But because of the location of the ditch, it really does reduce the use of that part of the property for anything but being used in conjunction with the residential use. Once again, I know every applicant before you says that their property is unique. So I understand Mayor Wright's thought process, but here that ditch does limit that use. So I mean, if it wasn't for that ditch and that location, we wouldn't be having this discussion anyways. And I would concur with Planner Gundram's position. So once again, this is a matter of a slight difference of opinion with Planner Gundram. It's not a significant dispute on our side of things.
What would you do in Huron County, John?
It'd be done. It'd be
Oh.
done in Huron, it'd be done in Bruce, it'd be done in Oxford, it'd be done in Lambton. So I mean,
Right.
once again, we're not in, Mayor McKenzie, we're not in those jurisdictions. As much as I can allude to that, it's
No.
not Huron County or Bruce County or Oxford County or Lambton County council will be going before it's Perth County Council. So
Right. And I guess from our perspective, it's not that long ago that there would be no severances in Perth County. So this is, as Doug said, this is a relatively new thing for Perth County to even be looking at. Any further questions with regards to the severance? David, sorry.
Yeah, if I may, Mayor McKenzie, just to address Deputy Mayor Eit's concerns on the size. So the proposed size of this severed lot would be 4.2 acres. Just to put that in context, the upper limit, if you can call it that, of what we usually see approved through this policy would be narrowing in on probably 2.75 acres. That's generally the ceiling that we've seen happen with these. Just to give some additional context to Deputy Mayor Eit's comments earlier.
Okay. Anybody else? Nicholas, sorry. Go ahead.
When you use if I may, to David, when you use the words a minimum or minimum necessary for that lot, do you have some, is in the Perth County official plan that is making the need to make it smaller? Or do we have some flexibility? Okay, we can see that it comes up against a natural water course there, and minimum in this case might or may mean let's take the property line straight back and use the proposed 4 point some acres. Can that still be considered minimum in nature by taking that lot line straight back and severing it as proposed by the applicant?
Through the mayor, it's a good question, Councillor Vink, and our interpretation, the policy reads, the language is a little open, but it says the minimum size required for the residential use and to accommodate septic and water services. It leaves it at that. It does leave it open to interpretation, but when we get into these cases where there's open field areas that contain no buildings or structures, no supporting system services or accessory uses for the principal dwelling, that's where our interpretation is that those areas are excess to what would be otherwise the minimum required to support that existing land use. Were there another structure in behind that was of an accessory residential nature or some system in that rear area in between the dwelling and the drain, then we'd be having a different conversation right now. I hope that helps answer the question.
And if I may follow up, then an accessory use structure could be put there, and then it would change the application if there was a accessory use structure back there, is what you're saying.
Through the mayor, that's correct. That would have changed our evaluation. There is nothing present, so we can't deal in hypotheticals. But if there were something there, then we would have evaluated this a little differently. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you, David. Any other questions with regards to this application? Councillor Marshall.
I believe Deputy Mayor Eit had mentioned that it's being used as pasture for animals now. I'm assuming that with setbacks, it would not be allowed for that. If it goes through.
If the severance goes through.
Yes.
David?
Yeah, through the mayor, Councillor Marshall, it's a good question. There would be setbacks that have to be observed for livestock housing facilities, but open pasture, I'm not aware that there'd be any setback to the property line for roaming livestock. In that case, it's more a matter of observing distances for the MDS from a residential use such as this. So any livestock facility would have to meet setback, but just loose animals roaming around, there's not really any control that we have that would come to bear in that case.
All right. Any further comments or questions? Oh, sorry, Nicholas.
Yeah,
You need to put your hand up higher. I'm having trouble seeing
All
it.
right, that's all
Good,
right.
thank you.
And so could we as council here recommend without the condition to Perth County Land Division Committee, without the condition to make it the smaller one if we chose to?
Through the mayor, Councillor Vink, I mean, council's at its own discretion to make the recommendation that it deems most appropriate and sees fit regarding the application. So short answer, yes.
It would probably just mean, David, that we wouldn't, we would approve 8 conditions instead of 9, and item or condition number 5 would be left out, I guess. If that's what your
That's
wishes
correct.
were, yeah. Okay, if there is no further questions, we want to keep moving on here. So
One more, Walter, if I may, Walter.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
Nicholas.
that's all right. So we are doing the recommendation to Perth County Land Division, and then Perth County Land Division would have this same discussion and can approve the severance with or without that modification as well too. So we're just making the recommendation, and then Perth County Land Division, I guess, has that final say one way or the other.
John, you had your hand up. You're right, Nicholas. Land Division are the ones that'll make the final decision. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was going to answer the same, Mayor McKenzie, that Councillor Vink could be persuasive, not necessarily determinative. You know, if West Perth Council recommended the existing size on the application, and once again, that conversation that whether that condition should be imposed to reduce the size can be discussed at Perth County Council. You know, Planner Gundrum can confirm that that can be discussed at that level as well. But it would go forward that West Perth was agreeable to the size. And once again, I think with the nature of this property, that ditch there, you know, there is some merit to that point. So.
All right, I'm going to read the recommendation then if there's no further questions. And while I'm doing that, you can think of whether you want 9 conditions or 8 conditions. And when I get to that, we need to have an agreement. So the recommendation here is that the Municipality of West Perth received the report entitled Application for Consent to Sever, number B821 by John McKercher on behalf of Howard and Valerie Fanson, affecting lands described as Lot 28, Concession 7, Fullerton Ward, Municipality of West Perth, and the 911 number is 6179, line 26. And it's been prepared by County Planner for information. Now, and that council recommends the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the application for consent to sever for lands described as Lot 28, Concession 7, Fullerton Ward, subject to the following conditions. And normally I don't read the conditions, and you've had them for the weekend. I guess the question at this point is, do you want 9 conditions or 8 conditions? Noting that it would be condition number 5 that would be the one in question. Councillor Jankowski? I
would like to propose the 8 conditions in the manner that you described, Your Worship.
Okay. What will, yeah, okay, well, I'm looking at Levica here. We'll do that, and then we'll take the vote. And I guess if you're in favor of that, you'll vote in favor of it, and if you're opposed, you'll vote against it. Would that be the proper way to do it? And then we can introduce it back again the way with 9 conditions. Would that be, Jeff? You want to help me out here?
I think what you want to do is have a mover and a seconder that it be approved with 8 conditions, and then have a vote on that. And if it fails, you go back.
Okay. Isn't that what I said? Okay.
I don't know if you had a seconder.
Well, no, not yet. I was just kind of laying the ground rules out the way we're going to go here. Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor Jankowski. Do we have a seconder for that motion that it be 8 conditions? Councillor Rose. Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, so we're gonna vote on this, and it's the application as it's submitted only. yeah, as the applicant has submitted it, with 8 conditions instead of 9. So it's the larger parcel that we're looking at here. So if there's no further discussion, all those in favor? Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you. All right. We do have another severance with us here tonight. Thank you, John. The next application is a consent to sever by Luann Hunt on behalf of Jeremy Stauskoff, and it is application B8. No, it isn't. It's B9. Sorry, 21. So, David, I'll let you take this one away as well.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. Mayor, members of council, like the previous application, this application is also application for consent to sever for a new lot containing a surplus farm dwelling, which is located in the Fullerton ward at 3632 Road 145. I'll just share a screen to help illustrate what the proposal is getting at here. So this is the aerial shot of the farm in question, with the yellow box showing what would be the severed lot containing the surplus farm dwelling. The property has been reviewed with respect to the surplus farm dwelling severance policy in the County of Perth official plan. We've found that the application meets all 9 criteria of the County of Perth surplus farm dwelling severance policy, and are recommending that West Perth Council approve this application for severance to the County of Perth Land Division Committee. Just to detail a little bit more detail on the application, the severed lot in this case would have an area of 0.47 hectares or 1.16 acres. It would have about 60 meters of frontage along Road 145 and a lot depth of about 74 meters. So not quite a perfect square, but pretty close to. And the retained lot in this case would be a farm lot containing cultivated areas, a wood lot to the northwest, municipal drain, as well as having an area of approximately 46.8 hectares or 115.74 acres. So that is a summary of what this application is about. We are recommending approval of the application, recommending that West Perth Council recommend the County Perth Land Division Committee that this application be approved, subject to the 8 conditions that are listed in our report. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of council may have on this one. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. I'll get you to unshare the screen again. Thank you. Okay, anybody have any questions with regards to this severance? I just have a point of clarification, and maybe I just didn't hear you right, David. Number of conditions on it. I thought you said 9, but maybe it was 8.
Yeah, to confirm it, there are 8 conditions for this, recommended conditions for this.
Right, and you maybe said 8, I'm not sure, David. I thought it was 9, but I was maybe affixed with the previous severance and had 9 in my mind. I'm not sure.
I think what I mentioned, there's 9 criteria in the policy, but those are the criteria we evaluated, and then there's 8 conditions that have come out of that evaluation. So.
Okay, all right. Any questions from council for David on this one? Doesn't look like it. Everybody seems to be okay. All right, so the recommendation that we have here is that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receive the report entitled Application for Consent to Sever, number B921 by Luann Hunt on behalf of Jeremy Stauskoff, affecting lands described as Lot 6, Concession 4, Fullerton Ward, Municipality of West Perth, the 911 number 3632. And that council recommends that the County of Perth Land Division Committee approve the application for consent to sever B921 for lands described as Lot 6, Concession 4, Fullerton, subject to the following 8 conditions. And you've had those conditions, unless you want me to read them. They were there for your perusal. And so at this stage of the game, a mover and a seconder would be in order. Moved by Councillor Murray and seconded by Councillor Matheson. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, thanks, David. The next item on the agenda is an application, is a zoning bylaw amendment. It's not an application for severance. It's a zoning bylaw amendment, and it's application D14 0421 by 2161453 Ontario Inc. And Adam Kozlowski is you're going to do it, are you, David? Okay, sorry, my information wasn't quite correct. Very good. Here we go. All right, I'll let you take it away then, David.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. Mayor, members of council. So I'm presenting this report, which was authored by our senior planner, Adam Kozlowski. This application for zoning amendment is an application to lift holding zones on a draft plan of subdivision. Subdivision file WP 2004. So this proposes to lift the hold zone on phases 2 and 3 of this development, which received draft approval in September of 2020. This is the plan of subdivision located along St. George Street in the northern portion of Mitchell. It's a pretty straightforward technical amendment to move ahead an existing development approval on these lands. We understand that this would allow the developer to then enter into a development agreement with West Perth and to continue on with the draft approved development of the lands in question. So that's really what this is about, a pretty high level summary, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that members of council may have on this one.
All right, any questions with regards to this? This is the property on the former Durasol site. I think everybody figured that one out. Okay, if there's no questions, then the recommendation is that Council for the Municipality of West Perth approve the request to lift the holding zone affecting lands described as part of Park Lot 4, Registered Plan 339, part of Parts 1 and 3 on Reference Plan 44R 3348, Phase 2 and 3 of Plan of Subdivision, and the file is 2004. And the location is 216 St. George Street. Do we have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Marshall and Councillor Rose, thank you. Any further questions or discussion? Oh, I froze up? No? David's moving.
I think you're all good,
Yes.
Walter.
Are we good? Okay, everybody, there was nothing here. So I'll I'm still looking for a mover and a seconder, sorry. Moved by, we got Councillor Marshall and Councillor Rose. We got that before whatever happened. Okay, all those in favor of this recommendation? Oh, that's better. There's some hands going up now. Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. I don't know what happened. Okay. Thank you, David.
Thank you, council. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you. All right. Brings us down to the building department, and we have a number of items here from our chief building official. And here comes Bob on right now. So I guess we'll go in the order that they're in our agenda, Bob. So the first item, bring it up here, is just the building permit report, I guess.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. This is the April permit summary. It over $6.5 million in construction value, 42 permits issued, and 13 zoning certificates for property sales or mortgages. Permits are listed.
Any questions for Bob on any of those? Okay, seeing none, the recommendation is that we accept the March Now, did you say this was April, right?
This is April. That's a correction that I missed. Your Worship.
Okay, so this is the April building report or permit report. Okay, mover and seconder for that then? Councillor Tam, Councillor Marshall, any further discussion or questions? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, the next then is about the exceptional circumstances to the sign bylaw.
That's correct. We've had 3 applications for oversized billboard signs in the rural area. They need an exception because of the size of the signs and the aggregate total in the sign face. So these are pretty straightforward. It's the same type of relief that was requested last year by the same sign company. The three properties are identified in the recommendation, and I'll field any questions.
Okay. Well, what we'll do is I'll read the recommendation. We'll get it moved and seconded and get it on the floor. And then if there's a discussion, we can have it at that time. So the recommendation is that we approve the applications for exceptional circumstances to the sign bylaw 80 at properties 2729 Road 164, 5424 Road 164, and 6811 line 34. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Trinkowski, and a seconder, Councillor Rose. Okay, any further discussion or questions on that? Councillor or Deputy Mayor Wright?
I don't know if this is a spot, but about a year ago, we did a bunch of these on Highway 8. And our treasurer at the time, Angela, I asked her if there was a different tax base on them because they're commercial. But this probably isn't a spot because Bob wouldn't know. And our new treasurer.
We do have our interim treasurer, and I don't know whether Terry would know that or not.
I don't want to
throw her under the bus here.
I don't want to put her on the spot. I'll ask her on a side note and do it.
That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you, because I'm not sure I know.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's only fair. Any other questions pertaining to this report? Okay, if not, all those in favor of that adjustment? Okay, opposed, if any? That is carried. All right, the next is a site plan review for 21 Arthur Street.
That's correct, Your Worship. This is the former OSS Ontario Steel Solutions site. It's been purchased by Matt Cook Hardwoods. He's because of the size of the addition that he's requesting to put on the building, we had to update and revise the current site plan to include the addition and additional parking and modify the entrances to the property.
Okay, again, we'll follow the same format. If we can get a mover and seconder, and the recommendation, I'll read it right now, and then if there's any discussion, we'll have it. So the recommendation is that West Perth directs staff to prepare a site plan agreement and adopting bylaw for an industrial expansion at 21 Arthur Street South, Mitchell described as Plan 341, Park Lot 89, and the registration number is 44R4989 Part 2. So do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Marshall and Councillor Murray. All right, discussion or questions? No questions? Everybody know where the property is? Out south end of town there? Okay, if there's no further questions, then we'll take the vote here. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Okay. The next one is a site plan review for 118 Huron Road. And again, I'll let Bob explain what it is, and then we'll read the motion and have a discussion.
Just bear with me a second. There we go. Thank you. We get the right file open. This is an expansion of Whitey's shop there. They're looking at setting up an independent business on the east side of the property. It is, because of the size of the expansion, it's under site plan control. It is set up in such a way that there could be a severance of this property to keep the two of them independent in the future.
Okay, I was just looking on the screen here.
I might mention that the current Kawasaki dealership is on a septic system with the, there is a service stub for sanitary across Huron Road. One of the requirements will be to have them hook up to sanitary. That'll allow them to decommission the septic system and provide a greater area for future expansion or a second proposed building on that portion of the site.
Okay. Questions for Bob with regards to the site plan on that one? No questions? Oh,
I do.
Deputy
I do.
Mayor.
I thought you would want a motion and a before.
Well, we can, yeah, okay, we can do it that way.
I'll move it. I'll move it, Walter.
Okay, so do you want me to read it first?
Sure.
That we direct staff to prepare a site plan agreement and adopting bylaw for highway commercial development at 118 Huron Road, described as Plan 341 Park Lot 56. And Doug is going to move that. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Harold. Okay, questions and comments?
My question was, Bob,
Yes.
are they gonna bring two services across, or can they get away with bringing one and then going off them? Like,
There will be two separate services. There currently is one to the northwest of the current location. They'll have to bore one under the road to the east near the proposed laneway for the new application.
I'm missing something a little bit here, Bob. Like, so what, there is one under the road now at Whitey's that will service the new building?
No, it'll service the current building.
So it'll service Whitey's, but not the new building?
That's correct.
Okay.
There's too much distance separation to tie both buildings into one service, and from a servicing perspective, they're better to be independent. It'll be an independent water, independent sanitary.
Okay. And this is maybe the dumb question of the night, but if they were on a septic system, obviously the services were put through the road at a different time afterwards?
They wouldn't be allowed to be on septic in this configuration, Your Worship, because there isn't enough land base there to handle the building, the parking, and a proposed septic system. So with our must connect bylaw, as soon as the services are available at the property and upon giving notice, they would be directed by the municipality to connect. So
okay, but I'm just a little fuzzy here on
you and I both, Walter.
Whitey's built the building.
yes.
And they went in on a septic system.
Yes, that was permitted.
When were the services put across? That's what I'm trying to get at here.
The water service was already there. The sanitary sewer service that they will be connecting to was part of the leachate collection system for the landfill. So we had to get a sanitary main up to our landfill to allow the leachate to be pumped into our sewage treatment system.
Okay, so that came along up on the south side of the highway and then crossed over to the landfill then, did it?
It's the sanitary is on the north side of the highway.
Okay, all right, yeah, okay.
So Paul, just to go back, like, they never came across the road on any of them. That's what's fooling me.
Okay.
Like they never did any of the ones on the, I'm on the south side, my store. They just brought water across, no sewer to myself, the Yellow House, Bob Organ's place, or Whitey's. But you're saying they did bring it over to Whitey's.
There are stubs across to the south side of the road for each one of those properties. The servicing for your store came through from Wimple Street.
Mine does, yes.
Yeah. So it was one of the last rear yard services that was allowed in the municipality.
It's interesting because I watched that construction from my front door, and they did not, that I ever saw, bring sewer over, just water. But you say they did, so I now know it's there.
Yeah.
Because they said it wasn't, but okay, perfect.
Question from Councillor Tam.
They have a third proposed building on there, Bob. Wouldn't it be prudent to get them to bring the services across for it as well now, if they're paving the parking lot and doing all the site work?
The proposed building on what I'm going to call Whitey's westerly building is more of a dry storage. It wouldn't require sanitary or water. If they did require sanitary or water, it could be serviced through the existing connection.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions with regards to that?
I'll just provide one matter of clarification, Mayor McKenzie, that I just want to add to what Bob McLean has said to confirm that it's our understanding that there is a service across. And I think the salient point to this conversation is that because of the extra development that's going to occur, we will be requiring a connection to the sanitary. And if it's determined that there is no service across, there will be a service required. But it's our understanding there is a service across for sanitary that hasn't been used.
I'm not sure if I'm any clearer or not now, Jeff, but there is another service that will have to go across the highway to service the new building, though, right?
Yes, and we will also require them to now connect the existing building to a service. So if there's one there, they'll be able to use that. And if there's not one there, they will be required to establish 2 new crossings.
Right, I understand that. Okay, so we've got that all cleared up. Any further questions with regards to that? Okay, so it's been duly moved and seconded, and we had a fairly good discussion on it. So at this point in time, is everybody in favor of that recommendation? Opposed, if any? Okay, that's carried. Very good. Okay, anything else, Bob, or anything you want to highlight?
There's one more to go, Your Worship.
One more? Oh, okay.
5.2.5 is an industrial expansion for Advantage Machine and Tool, 155 Huron Road. So they're
okay. Yep. Sorry. It starts on one page and turns over on the other on my page here. So, yeah. Okay. Do we, let's do it the same way. The recommendation is that we direct staff to prepare a site plan agreement and adopting bylaw for an industrial expansion at 155 Heron Road, described as concession 1 part lot 19, Logan, in the Mitchell ward, and it's referred to as 44R 685 part 1. So yeah, Bob, actually we'll take a mover and a seconder, and then I'll get Bob to explain it. How's that? Councillor Rose and Councillor Harold, and Bob, you can explain it.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's a reconfiguration of their parking from the rear of the building to allow for a building expansion. They're currently on town water. You'll note there is a septic system supporting the building. There's 2 solar panels in the northerly yard that are still functional in proximity to the septic system. This site has never had a site plan agreement. Because of the size of the expansion, it triggers the requirement.
Okay, questions for Bob on that?
Why not?
Councillor Tam?
The configuration with the container in the middle, Bob, is that a hydro or a transformer or something, or why is it laid out like that?
I believe it's just a current storage box right now, Councillor Tam. It will be relocated to another portion of the property, so to allow for construction.
All right, Deputy Mayor Ait had a question as well.
Well, sorry, now I'm confused. I thought that whole block was an addition on the back of it, but it's parking out back. My question though was to do with sewer again. Do you site plan that in that if sewer ever has to go up, they have to tie on too?
Yeah, this property, along with the other ones along the north side of Huron Road, the south side of Huron Road past Home Street, don't have the ability to be easily serviced by our town or our municipal sanitary sewer system. That may have to take a little longer time to develop a sewage proposal to handle their product or their effluent.
Other questions? Okay, ready for the question then? All those in favor of that recommendation? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, thanks, Bob. Any other highlights of your week or anything you want to tell us?
We are working towards a review on our building permit fees. Hopefully we'll be bringing that forward within the next month with a recommendation.
Okay, any other questions for Bob? Anybody has? All right, thanks, Bob. Very good.
Thank you.
All right, the next is Bill Hunter's report, the fire chief's report. So, Bill, I'll let you take it away.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight's activity report is for the period of March and April. As council could see, our call volume continues to remain around the average for the past 3 years. Due to COVID, we are continuing to train, but because of COVID, we're keeping it to single platoons. We also are planning to do some online training in the future, but everything's dependent on how things go with the lockdown. As council could see, our fire prevention officer still continues to do his duties as far as inspections and follow-up visits, especially in the core area, and some orders were issued. We are also continuing to increase our social media presence, specifically due to COVID. We're not able to get out in the schools, so we're trying to overload social media with some good fire safety messaging. And if council has any questions, I'll certainly try and answer them.
All right, thanks, Bill. Any questions for Fire Chief Hunter? I think you're getting off easy tonight, Bill.
Thank you.
All right, the recommendation is here that we received the March-April 2021 West Perth Fire Department Activity Report prepared by Fire Chief for information. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose and Councillor Matheson. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. All right. Next item is the operations department, and I don't know, Mike.
I'm going to cover them.
Okay, Jeff is going to cover it for Mike. He was having trouble getting hooked on here tonight. So Jeff, I'll leave it with you.
So in the COVID era, sometimes it's the other kind of traffic that stops you from getting to your place of work. So Mike's got an internet connection problem, so wasn't able to connect. These are fairly straightforward reports. I'll present them, and if there's any questions that I can't answer, we will ask Mike for the information and follow up for the benefit of council. The first report deals with the procurement of a 1/2 ton and 3/4 ton pickup truck. The tender results are provided. We came slightly over budget, but given everything that's happened and those estimates were pretty close. And so the recommendation we have from staff is that the Council Municipality of West Perth award the contract for supply of one half-ton pickup truck to Finch Auto Group in the amount of $44,957.05, including HST, and that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth award contract to supply 1 3/4 ton pickup truck to Finch Auto Group in the amount of $53,554.60, including HST.
Okay, got a question for you, Mr. Brick. The other 3 tenders there, we know one is a Chrysler and one is a Ford, but the low tender, is it a Chev, a Chrysler, or I know Finch has several
It's a Chevy.
dealerships over there. It's a Chev, is it?
Yeah, it could have been a Hyundai, and it could have been in theory, a Jeep or a BMW because they have several dealerships, but it is a Chevy.
It's a Chev. Okay, all right. Any other questions on that one? Okay, the recommendation Jeff read, so we just really need a mover and seconder for that, and then we'll take the vote to approve it or disapprove it, whatever your wishes are. Moved by Councillor Bell, and do we have a second? Or you have a question, Sherry? You're moving it?
No.
Okay.
I think she was just voting to move it.
Oh, okay, okay. So Sherry's going to move it. Do we have a seconder for that, Councillor Murray? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. All right, the next item is the repairs to the bridge on St. Andrew Street.
Yes. So Operations Manager Mike Kramer has prepared a report for you outlining the results of a tender process for the repairs of the St. Andrew Street structure 03M. We have this project. The report was provided to council. It came in slightly under budget, and we're recommending, staff are recommending that we, Council Municipality of West Perth, award the contract repairs to structure 03M on St. Andrew Street to WeatherTech Restoration Services in the amount of $410,000, $847.66, including HST.
All right, any questions on that one, on that recommendation?
Well, we lost you, Walter. Can you speak? There you go. Try it now.
Are we good?
Just try replugging in your unplugging and replugging in. Your cord seems to be have come loose. No.
Lost me.
Okay.
Well, we can hear you, Walter. We can hear you just fine.
Very
Yeah.
quietly. We'll have to. Can you hear him? Can you try again?
Okay, I'm coming through okay, or very soft, I guess, am I?
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Maybe it's.
all right, so where were we? Did we got a mover and seconder for that, I believe, didn't we? Yes. So all those in favor of that recommendation? Councillor Bell, okay, yep, okay, good, excellent, very good, thank you, that's carried. I thought Sherry.
Yeah,
moved.
we did.
I can't
Sherry
tell you,
Pound.
I don't know who seconded that. Can you refresh us to who's, I think Councillor, was it Councillor Rose? I can't hear you, Murray, you're muted.
I think it was Anna Marie, wasn't it?
Did you move that, Anna Marie?
Might have been the report before.
Yes, maybe Sherry and I did the first one. Maybe you still need a mover and a seconder for this one.
Okay, we'll start.
I'll move.
Dean is going to move it then. Do we have a seconder? I'll take Councillor Rose. Okay, sorry. I thought we had a mover and seconder, but I get going too fast here. Okay, all those in favor of that recommendation then? Very good. That's carried. Thank you. All right, moving on then, Recreation and Facilities Department. Darcy, and front and center, the floor is yours, Darcy.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie and Council. So in front of you is my activity report. Did a quick review of the capital projects that are ongoing in the next little bit, as well as a quick outline of our facility maintenance, where we're at. Obviously, a lot of our facilities are hinging on how we come out of the stay-at-home order, but we're trying to get the facilities as ready as possible for when we do come out of the stay-at-home order and what we have available. So obviously, facility rentals are still down. Recreation, we're moving ahead with a lot of programs, again, hinging on the stay-at-home order, but we want to be ready to go when we did. Actually, we just got some good news. on Friday afternoon that we received a grant for a cooking program this fall. That was through Stratford Perth Community Foundation. We did not get it last year, but we were able to get it this year. And all our day camp registration and everything is open, and we're ready to go as soon as the stay-at-home order goes. And the other thing was the vaccination clinics. Now I think Jeff even has an extra update to the vaccination clinics that was made after my report. If Jeff, you want to jump in at all on that one?
Sure, I'll just add, there was some updates on the vaccination clinics in the reports that Municipality of West Perth has offered to host mass vaccination clinics. It looks like we are not on the schedule for certain for the June vaccination clinics. And I'm not certain we'll get on the schedule to have vaccination clinics. I noticed we spelled Goddard in a funny way in that report. That would be my fault because I edited that. So sorry about that, Darcy. I just want to update that we're looking at a couple of fronts to try to get some better access for our residents in Mitchell here. You'll notice that list that are getting mass vaccination clinics lines up somewhat with where we have hospitals in Huron and Perth County, and also provide a geographic distribution. The offer was put out there that we would like to see mass vaccination clinics in Mitchell, but the numbers are just not supporting it at this time. However, we are looking at an option to support transportation. So where West Perth would support dedicated transportation to run shuttles between Mitchell and mass vaccination clinics to be held in Stratford and possibly even St. Mary's. So we're looking at those options, and we're exploring if we can support the residents of our community in that way. And we're also hoping for the possibility of having a primary care clinic located here in Mitchell. So the primary care clinics are looked after by the health teams, the local health teams, and we're very hopeful that our local health team will be able to host a primary care clinic here, which wouldn't have the number of vaccines of a mass vaccination clinic, but we have made them aware that we're prepared to provide our facility at no cost in order to provide service to our local residents.
Okay, on the last example that you had there, so would that be open to any resident of West Perth or specifically their clientele?
Good question. No, it would be open, as I understand it, to any resident. So it certainly is put on by the primary care clinic team, the health team, the local health team, but the clinics are offered to all residents as we understand them.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good.
So it's a great choice. It's not a mass vaccination clinic, and I think we're gonna meet right tomorrow. Mayor McKenzie and myself are going to meet right tomorrow to continue to work on this project, but this is looking like a good option.
Any questions on that? Any questions either for Darcy or Jeff? Either one.
Darcy, on the news tonight, I don't know what her name is, Doug Ford's right-hand lady. She said that everything opening June 2nd or before.
Or before, yeah. Christine
or before, she kept saying it or before. Or Walter maybe, or Jeff, any inclination of when or before is? It could be as soon as the long weekend's over. I don't know, but how soon could we be ready for our day camps and our pool and that? Like within a couple weeks?
So our pool's regular start date is June 4th. It is going to be prepared for June 4th. The splash pad could be ready to go tomorrow if we got the word. Everything's in and it's already been tested. So we're ready to go on the splash pad, and the pool will be June 4th. Day camp we're obviously ready for, but it'll be after school's out on July 1st. And yeah, so other than that, we'll be ready to go. We got a gardening program that's scheduled to start early June. So yeah, we'll be ready to go as soon as they give us the go ahead.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Motion here then that West Perth Council receives the report dated May the 17th as presented. And that's the Recreation and Facilities Department report. Do we have a mover and seconder for that one? Councillor Marshall, and Sherry, have you got your hand up? I can't tell. Okay, I'll take Councillor Rose had his hand up, so good. Those two, all those in favor? That is carried. Thanks.
Sorry.
No,
Sorry, Walter. My internet's a disaster tonight. I'm actually way behind everything you guys are saying by
okay.
probably
No, that's fine. Well,
5 seconds.
On my screen, your name is right where your hand would maybe be, and I have to really kind of look sometimes to see whether you have your hand up or not. So anyway, no, that's fine. All right, the next item is a report from the Finance Department, and we have our interim treasurer, Terry Rao, online here. There she is. So Terry, I will let you take it away.
Hi, good evening, Mayor McKenzie and Council. What a beautiful day we're having today. So the first, what we've got ahead of you is your consolidated statements as of the end of April. So Council at the last meeting, when they were presented with this format, this new format, asked for some changes. So we've incorporated some of those changes to be moving the 2021 budget and year-to-date over closer to the description on the left, the middle left. And then you wanted to column 2021 budget percent. So the only option I have with Keystone is budget percent used, and it works very well too. So I've explained a little bit about it in the report. One good thing, I did go and ask Keystone for the prior year. So we've got previous year and prior year if we were going to go with 3 or 4 years in a scenario. So the prior year is 2020. They are going to get me the option of doing the percentage of budget used. So it's going to be a little nicer too to compare apples to apples more so than looking at numbers and so on. Those numbers in the 2020 budget to date are 4/12 of the budget. So that's one of the good things. And I thank Monique again, our financial analyst, for marking it up for me a little bit here. So I hope you'll see the next statements that come out. Hopefully that last column will be percentages also. And I've just given you a little bit of a summary on some of the expenses and revenues to date and so on. And if you have any questions on the format or any of the numbers within the line items, I can try and answer them for you.
Okay, questions for Terry? Nicholas is smiling from ear to ear. He's quite happy with what you've done.
Yep, thank
I
you.
tried to make it
Looks
better.
great.
Yeah, I didn't have that option on the other one, so I contacted them and said, you know what, we should have that. So yeah, so I think they're going to be getting that. So the next one should work.
Okay, if there is no further questions, we got the recommendation here that the report titled West Perth Consolidated Statements Report be received, and we'll take a mover and seconder for that one. Councillor Bell and Councillor Vink. And any further discussion, if any?
We have given the managers their detailed information to the end of April also, and so on. So they've been checking that through, and there was a couple little changes, but everybody's doing really well. So I think using that the budget book with the line items really helps them also, so they know the codes.
Very good, very good. Well, it's like anything else. It'll take a month or so to get onto it, but
yeah.
You know, I think it's good. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. A question, Jeff?
Yeah, I was just going to wonder if there had been if there's anything of concern that you've noticed, or any issues that you see coming up.
Okay, as you can see, we made a new department. We need to balance our taxes a little bit better. It was all one line, and all the supplementaries and write-offs, everything was really hard to balance that and to break out the education portion. So you'll see I made a note about the new GL accounts, and so we have a taxation revenue for West Perth purposes taxes, and then we have one for the county and the school boards and so on, breaking it out a little bit better. When you look at the taxation revenue for each of those lines, the very first line is going to be the levy that you passed according to Schedule A on the on the tax rate bylaw. So all the amounts we're raising for the county, that should be what's in the budget. Our amount's going to be in the budget. On the taxation revenue, not like the SUPs, the write-offs, and so on, are things that go on throughout the year. So we have new builds and so on, then we build the residents, or if we have, God forbid, fires or some kind of demolitions, then you'll see the write-offs or so on, or people have RFRs and wanted and are appealing their assessment, for example. So, and then the amount we raised for the education portion on Schedule A is broken out by the 4 school boards, and you'll see that in the revenue. So these are good things to balance. So we take it at the end of the year. We know what we need to raise. It's always a few cents because it's an 8-digit decimal place on the tax rate, but it should balance almost to the penny all the time. So that's going to be a huge change, and it's going to be great. And Lori's really looking into that and working with it. She's done her first SUP run and she was quite happy. Things are looking pretty good. We're getting some grants in. We're getting our grants in that we should be getting. Going through some of these. Everything's pretty much online. I know our season's coming, of course, for bigger expenditures for capital and things like that. So, but things are looking not too bad at this time to the end of April.
Okay, any other questions for Terry? Okay, the report's been moved and seconded then. So if there's nothing further, all those in favor of her report? That is carried. Thank you. And then the next item is council remuneration report.
Okay, yes, let me just catch that. So we're a little late getting this out, but never better late than never. So every year, each year, we are to report on the remuneration of council. And so it shows your per diem, your honorariums, per diems, your meeting rates, and any expenses. So if you have any questions with that, please let us know, or if you think that there's something wrong. We were looking at what was posted in the general ledger for last year, and that's where we got our numbers. So if there's anybody that has any, Councillor or Deputy Mayor, I think I'm not sure if some of your expenses might be with the county. I'm not sure about that.
Any questions on that? I thought we had this earlier in the year, didn't we? Or not? Was I dreaming that?
Well, not this year.
Okay,
Not this year yet.
Oh, I thought we did. Yeah.
I think you've had it a little late last year again.
Yeah.
I think maybe, but yeah, so it just needed to be done.
All right. Okay, if there's no further questions, then who wants to be the bold one and move in second the 2020 council remuneration report as presented? Councillor Rose, and we have a seconder, Councillor Vink. Or do you have a question, Nicholas? Nope, you're seconding the motion. Okay, ready for the question then? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Good.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
All right. The next item then is the clerk's department, or our deputy clerk, or Lubitz is going to do this one tonight. So go ahead.
Good evening, everybody. My report coming from the clerk's department speaks to the petition that we have received from the landowner under the Section 4 of the Drainage Act. This will be the extension to the existing Schellenberger Municipal Drain, and we are recommending to appoint Paul McIntyre to prepare the report. And I can answer any questions you might have.
Okay, any questions for Lubitz on that matter? Okay, if not, the recommendation is that we accept the petition received by property owner Jeff Michael under Section 4 of the Drainage Act, and that Council of West Perth appoints Paul McIntyre of RJ Burnside and Associates Limited to prepare a report on the petition and to combine it with a current report for repair and improvement to the Schellenberger drain. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Murray, and a seconder, Councillor Matheson. Okay, any further questions? And all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. Thank you. And that's it for you, Labitza? Good. Notice the outfit Labitza was wearing tonight. I said she's either a referee at a hockey game or she's an inmate. Okay, moving on. There is no report from the administration for tonight, but we do have some correspondence, and I think Councillor Tinkowski is maybe going to, or wish to maybe talk about this one.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I received a letter from residents of West Perth on line 46. Young residents, they're concerned about the presence of litter on the roadside. So I wanted to thank the Block family for that letter, and I'm quite encouraged to see that the youth of our community are asking questions and getting involved and seeking changes for the better. So I guess the objective tonight was to bring the letter as requested to council for everyone's information, and to draw awareness to the concern, I guess draw awareness to the issue of littering in general throughout the municipality, whether it's at the roadside, public land, or private land. I think the main focus or main goal was to provide some education and instill some pride, community pride, to remind people to be respectful of public and private property. But in my response letter, I alluded to finding some solutions to the problem. So with your permission, Your Worship, at some point in the near future, I would like to reintroduce this topic via a notice of motion to kind of just try and discover some ways that we can, together as a council and a community, as a staff, be proactive with dealing with this issue. I know we had, there's a raging success with the Sign Wars campaign, so I'm just wondering if we could do something similar along that line to deal with the litter issue. So like I said, I want to present it, I want to give it some more thought before I present a notice of motion on the issue in the near future.
Okay, so noted. Thanks, Dean. Very good. All right, I'm going to skip over for the time being Sabo Bayfield, if that's okay, Mike. We do have a delegation, and I see that it appears that they are all on with us here now. So I think we'll deal with the delegation, and then we'll come back and finish the other part of the agenda. So we do have, and I see, I should check, I guess. I think everybody's on here. So with us tonight is Kim McElroy. And there's Kim. You can wave. Yep, good. Janine Fast. And I don't see. And Dave. Oh, okay. And
Here, Your Worship.
Yep. And Greg Skinner, and then Inspector Cinco is also on the line tonight. So good. All right. So I will turn it over to you, and you can do your magic with this council, and we'll certainly enjoy your appearance here, and you're going to share the screen. So away you go.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for giving us some time on your agenda today to present to you the final version of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan for the Perth County Partnership Municipalities and Councils. For those of you who don't know me, I am Greg Skinner, the Chief of Police of the Stratford Police Service, and joining me as part of this presentation team are Kim McElroy, Director of Social Services for Stratford, Perth County, and St. Mary's, Acting Inspector Dave Cinco, Detachment Commander for the Perth County OPP. Tracy Farmer, lead consultant on this project from DPRA Consultants. And Janine Fass, Housing Stability Policy and Program Coordinator with Social Services. I hope you've had some time to review the documents that we provided in advance, but if not, I hope that an overview today provides you with the information you need to adopt this plan for your municipality. The intention of today's presentation is to briefly provide you with a broad overview of the why and how of the legislative requirement for each municipality to have a community safety and well-being plan, and the extensive public and stakeholder consultations that inform the consultants to identify the priority areas, determine the goals and objectives at a high level, and then look at our next steps as we implement the plan. Items number 4 and 5 on the screen above is where we will be focusing today. And now to talk about the background, I'll turn it over to Inspector Cinco.
Good evening. So each municipality is required through legislation to have a community safety and well-being plan approved and adopted by July 1st, 2021. I have been impressed with the cooperation at the municipal government level, as all 6 municipalities in Perth County partnered to commit to one plan. That is no easy task at the best of times, but Tracy and her team at DPRA were able to very professionally navigate the challenges presented by a global pandemic to produce a document that recognizes the similarities and the differences among the communities represented by the partner municipalities and build in the flexibility in the plan that can meet the diversity of needs across the county. The purpose of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan is not to recreate the wheel. Each of your municipalities individually and collectively have incredible people performing amazing work to support your communities. The purpose of this plan is to be the overarching plan that coordinates those activities happening now, leverages existing resources, shares best practices, and identifies and addresses any gaps in service delivery. We live in a fast-paced world where issues come at us from all directions, and it is easy to get pulled into the weeds and get stuck in paralysis by analysis. The intent of this plan is to provide a strategic, coordinated effort where complex community issues are addressed holistically, ensuring that resources are provided effectively, efficiently, and consistently, with the community knowing what resources are available, how to access them, and what services they can expect to be provided. Slide 6 shows a graph which demonstrates the 4 levels of intervention to community issues. Incident response is expensive. That is where resources, including police, fire, ambulance, social services, hospitals, ERs, etc., are required to deal with people in potential crisis situations. This plan primarily focuses on the other 3 levels in order to reduce the calls for service and reduce the risk to our communities. The more initiatives we can implement that are focused on social development, prevention, and risk intervention, the greater impact we can have on our communities. Some examples of programs that have had a very positive impact include the Mobile Crisis Rapid Response Team model. We're taking the services to the street and to the people who need them, but struggle to access them, are served better and result less in the way of expenses and incident response. I'll turn it over to Kim now to discuss how we created the roadmap.
Thank you. The stakeholders listed above provided DPRA with their advice, guidance, and local experience in developing the research and survey tools to ensure the right organizations and individuals were contacted to contribute to this plan. The advisory committee meetings provided the opportunity for the leadership positions who have the ability to make decisions and are authorized to allocate resources, including funding from existing budgets, to come together for a common purpose. It is this structure at the senior leadership level that will model the participation of the action groups to inform the executive leadership team. The plan is guided by the following set of principles: respect, equity, collaboration, inclusion, commitment, and compassion. As you can appreciate, there is a lot of existing information that needed to be reviewed to ensure that the goals and objectives of the community safety and well-being plan aligned with the existing strategic plans of your municipality and supported the goals that you want to achieve as a council. All of the information obtained from that research and consultation were built into this plan. Stakeholder engagement is the key to this plan, being successfully accepted by our communities to address the diverse needs of each of our municipalities. The next few slides will provide an overview of the efforts that were used to reach out to the community and provide them as an opportunity to participate so they could have their input into the priorities, objectives, and goals of this plan. A comprehensive online survey was conducted with significant efforts being made to get the public to complete the surveys. In the end, an impressive 1,078 surveys were completed with the proportions by municipality outlined in this slide. In addition to the surveys, a number of facilitated discussions and one-on-one interviews were held. A total of 91 participants were in these sessions. The last component of the stakeholders engagement sessions focused on those with lived experience. I think we all recognize until we've walked a mile in another person's shoes, we really don't know what challenges they have faced along the way. Those with lived experience have a unique perspective, one that the consultants went to great lengths to ensure was included in the engagement process. Because if we don't know our consumers, then our delivery of the service won't meet their needs, whether that is the delivery of programs for seniors, programs for youth, or support for those suffering from mental health and addictions. These engagement sessions did not take place as originally planned, as the work for this project predated the pandemic. Workarounds had to be implemented. Regardless, because of the consistent messaging we heard throughout the engagement process, we are confident that the priorities identified will have the most positive impact on our communities. And now I will pass it on to Chief Skinner, who will share the consultation findings with you.
So what did we hear from those consultations? We heard that for all residents to feel safe and physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy, their basic needs must be met. We heard that safety and well-being means residents feel they belong, they are welcome, they are respected, and they are connected to others in the community. We heard there are vulnerable individuals and families in our communities who need additional help to enhance the quality of their lives. We heard there are many excellent social, health, and recreational and leisure programs and services available to residents in and across the 6 partner municipalities. And we heard that not all residents are able to access services and supports they need when they need them and where they need them. The survey responses for all of the communities indicated that the access to healthcare services was the #1 priority to support community safety and well-being. Stratford and St. Mary's both had adequate and affordable housing as their #2 priority, while North, West, and South Perth respondents identified other community securities and safety as their #2 priority. This catch-all included police visibility and enforcement strategies as a deterrent to criminal activity and traffic-related issues. Perth East respondents identified recreational activity opportunities as their #2 priority. This plan takes into account the similarities and differences in these identified priorities, enabling each municipality to put programs and services in place to meet their specific community's needs. The facilitated focus groups and one-on-one discussions identified similar priorities in more detail as listed above. As we said earlier in the presentation, the intent of the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan is to leverage the great work being done already and support the implementation of programs on a go forward that address any gaps in service delivery. We identified some of the ongoing committees and initiatives that are in place and supporting some of those priorities identified, which this plan will rely on to inform our future coordinated efforts. Inspector Cinco will now review the 4 priority areas.
So all of the research, consultations with stakeholders, and engagement with the public culminated into the identification of 4 priority areas that will focus the work and the contributions of community safety and well-being. Priority area 1, we've titled Systems Planning and Integration, with the first goal being to improve knowledge of and access to programs, services, supports, and resources. What became apparent during the engagement sessions was that people either didn't know what programs were available in their community or how to access the programs that did exist. More creative and persistent communication initiatives will better position people to access and utilize the supports already in place and better identify any gaps. Goal number 2 under this priority is focused on police visibility and more subject matter experts on patrol or readily accessible to police as a deterrent to negative behavior in our communities. And of course, major event planning and preparedness was identified in response to the efforts being put in place to keep our communities safe and healthy during this global pandemic. Priority area number 2 is adequate, affordable, and attainable housing. The goal of this area is to increase the availability of accessibility and affordable, safe, and suitable housing by supporting the strategic objectives of our area's updated housing and homelessness plan. Priority area number 3, affordable and accessible health, social, and recreation services. Goals include improving the availability and accessibility to healthcare services by supporting healthcare partners in their work and improving knowledge and awareness of crisis response triage options. A third goal under this priority area is to increase the availability of affordable transportation options and support the efforts that are currently underway. And priority area number 4, social inclusion. Goals include increasing the application of equity, diversity, and inclusion practices across all partner agencies and promote understanding of the diverse groups and populations that live in our communities. And the final goal under this area is to enhance our residents' sense of community belonging by creating and maintaining safe and welcoming public spaces and increasing access to community events and activities for everyone. And at this point, I'll pass it back to Kim to share what happens next.
After Council's adoption of this plan as the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, the next step will be the implementation. One of the things that I've consistently heard when dealing with members of the public is that we may be aware of the issues plaguing our communities, but nobody is doing anything about it, and some with lived experience feels that nobody cares about them. Nothing could be further from the truth or reality, but it speaks to the need of more communication. A big part of the initial phase of the implementation will be a comprehensive communication strategy to inform rollout of the plan to the public, provide ongoing updates of the enhancements being made to our collective service delivery efforts to demonstrate to the public that this plan is not sitting on the shelf. The public has high expectations of its politicians and the municipal employees. In order to maintain trust and support from our constituents, we need to do a better job of letting the public know what we are doing and what we hope to achieve and how they can be part of the solution. The strategic engagement approach to our community safety and well-being plan. It recognizes the strength that already exists within and across municipality and organizations. It enhances effectiveness by creating more strategically aligned and formalized alliances. It helps improve integration, enhance capacity, reduce duplication, and promotes coordination and collaboration. The community safety and well-being plans are meant to bring those with individual mandates together as partners to find new creative ways to deal with local issues and explore options. The concept of team facilitates the potential for the whole to be greater than the sum of all its parts. Coordination of resources, sharing of information, integrated approaches to problem solving, less duplication, and greater efficiencies are all benefits of collaboration, and the community as a whole benefits when organizational leaders can model the way by thinking beyond their own mandates and how decisions they make affect the environment of others. The governance structure to provide guidance, direction, and oversight of this plan has been a subject of significant discussion. For the implementation of the plan, the decision has been made to delineate the executive leadership as those who are legislatively bound to have this plan in place and have participated as funding partners to create the plan, thus having broad responsibilities for their individual community safety and well-being. So each of the partner municipalities will have a seat on the executive leadership team, with the police and social services participating as co-chairs and resources to the executive leadership team. The voting rights are reserved for the representatives of the municipalities. The key stakeholder committee consists of leadership of those existing agencies and organizations whose mandates are aligned with the goals and objectives of the plan. The action group is where the heavy lifting will take place, and there's flexibility to align the action groups based on geography, priority, or an already existing committee. The plan will leverage existing committees, and the first implementation step for the plan will be to conduct an inventory of all existing committees in Perth County, review their mandates and programs that they currently have in place. We will then begin the process of bringing the leadership from like-minded action groups together for greater clarity on what exists currently and how those committees are interacting currently. The responsibility of the Partnership Council will be to implement the plan, identify linkages between the programs and services, and enhance coordination among and between municipalities and service providers. It will be the responsibility of the Partnership Council to determine how frequently to report back to the individual municipal councils, determine the annual budget allocations that will go before each council, and to provide operations support to the plan. The Partnership Council will have final decision-making over the structure of the plan. We anticipate that there will be a report back expectation to the Ministry of Solicitor General, although this has not yet been clarified, and the Partnership Council will have that responsibility as well. The action groups will be the conduit of the plan to the community. These groups will be the backbone of the plan and will provide the means to where the creativity, innovation, and problem-solving acumen will have the most impact on our communities. Communication, cooperation, collaboration, and commitment will be the key components to the success of this plan. Chief Skinner will now conclude the presentation.
Once all of our partner councils have reviewed, approved, and adopted the plan through resolution, then the implementation plan can be put into action. The last of the presentations to individual councils happens on May 25th, and assuming all adopt the plan, then the next steps will be to 1, convene the Partnership Council and formalize the implementation plan in terms of reference. 2, identify action groups and inventory their individual mandates, composition, priorities, goals, objectives, and accomplishments to date. 3, develop performance measurement and evaluation tools for the purposes of focus and report back. And number 4, and most importantly, establish a communication strategy to publicly introduce the plan. Just a couple of final thoughts before opening up the floor to questions. I want to commend Tracy and her team from DPRA for being able to complete this plan during a pandemic. I don't know if any of us truly appreciate the challenges that her team faced in engaging the public and key stakeholders during a period of community lockdowns, video conferencing, and competing priorities for municipal and corporate leaders. Thank you, Tracy, and your team for the excellent work done. Also, I want to congratulate your municipality on the commitment of your staff throughout this process. We recognize that each municipality has its individual needs, and in no way, shape, or form is this plan an attempt to impose its priorities on your community. This is not a zero-sum game. This is about bringing people and committees together and to understand the diverse issues, broaden the impact of successes already achieved, and leverage the knowledge and commitment of existing committees, and in so doing, provide you as elected representatives with the information you need to satisfy yourselves and your constituents that progress is being made to make your community safer and enhance your community members' quality of life. And with that, I'll bring the presentation to a close, and we are happy to accept and respond to any questions that anybody may have.
There goes another $5. Anyways, thank you, Chief Skinner. Any questions with regards to this delegation here tonight? A lot of material there. Councillor Trinkowski.
So through you, your worship, when I listened to the presentation, I was thinking of 3 or 4 different conversations I've had with different people in the community in the area. So I'm listening to the presentation. My question would be, so this initiative would cover issues that are in our community, such as stress and mental health in the ag industry, homelessness, and another conversation I had was trying to find support and programming for people that had those supports as a youth, but once they turn 18, i.e. adult age, those programming supports are not in place to help them where it's needed. So I'm guessing that's what this initiative is trying to deal with. Am I correct in that?
Through you, your worship, if the intent and the purpose for us keeping the priorities and objectives of this plan at a high level was to provide for the flexibility for each individual municipality to identify its specific priorities, so that the headings are broad, and it gives you as a municipality the ability to bring your specific priorities within the broader priority of the plan. So yes, the answer is that all of the issues that you have identified could easily be fit into this plan under various priority headings, with your municipality focusing its resources and commitment of the public to assisting your municipality. The other intent is when your municipality comes up with a creative, innovative, new way of providing service to the public, there'll be a forum to share that with the other partnership municipalities, so that your success can be duplicated throughout the county and replicated in other areas where it is appropriate. And that is one of the true benefits of this plan, is to bring everybody together. The old saying of, 2 heads are better than one. In this case, there will be many people working collectively on like issues within our municipalities.
Councillor Vink.
Then I didn't quite understand, because I thought you said the Partnership Council has some goals to achieve and is going to ask for budget dollars to achieve those goals. So if the Partnership Council has these overarching goals, how is it that they're going to individually customize that for each municipality and then come back and ask for dollars to achieve that.
Tracy, are you on the line? Is Tracy Farmer on the line?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Tracy, are you able to put some more meat on the bone with respect to the structure of the priorities and what they look like for the global and the local level?
Yeah, I certainly can. I mean, as Chief Skinner mentioned, the plan was developed to allow for all municipalities to see themselves in it. As we move into the development of the action groups, which that can be geographically based or topically based, or they can be groups that are already formed, that'll be the opportunity for each of the municipalities to more specifically address some of the issues within their areas. In terms of the funding or the request for funding, I think I need to maybe pass that to Kim just to talk about how that will work.
Through you, Worship. The funding is more of an, like you said, Councillor Bink, an overarching plan of coordination. It's to help facilitate amongst the municipalities and work within. So in fact, we're not necessarily seeing duplication, but better integration of programs that are running and enhancing what can be done. So that is where we're looking at the coordination throughout the county.
Yep, and then if I may, Walter, follow up on that. So thanks. The implementation plan, the roadmap looks like from this year out to 2024. So where in that roadmap would we see, all right, so we have some goals to achieve. Now we have some actionable items, some quick wins that we can knock out, some midterm goals, and some long-term strategies. So where in the roadmap, I guess, do we see, all right, we're going to achieve some goals with some quick wins coming up in the next year? Is that at the end, 2024, or is the process going to take up to 2024 and then be completed by then?
Through your worship, this plan is meant to cover that time period, but it is not absolutely rigid in its structure. There is significant flexibility within the plan under the priority areas. So as goals are achieved and objectives are achieved, there can be movement within these priority areas to expand on the already established goals and objectives now. So there will be a report back process that happens to allow councils to stay engaged in the progress that is being made within the plans and the specifics of the programs that are happening within their municipalities and the objectives and achievables that are being met within your municipality. So what is being done specifically to promote your municipality and assist your community members from a community safety and well-being perspective. I get that it seems a little difficult to see yourself at this point, but I can assure you that once you start to look at the broadness of the priority areas and then distill it down to the local level, you'll see all of these programs that will be able to fit into certain areas, and we'll be able to expand upon them as we collaborate together with the broader Perth County municipalities.
All right, other questions? Looks like we've got them answered. Well, I do want to thank Chief Skinner and Kim McElroy, sorry about that. and Inspector Cinco for your contribution here this evening. There was a lot of material. I know when I was looking at it in the council package there, I thought, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff there. So we do thank you for coming and kind of going through it for us tonight, and it's greatly appreciated. I guess in connection with that, we do have a recommendation here, the recommendation is that West Perth adopts the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan 2021 to 2024, along with the accompanying implementation plan and the adapted plan be forwarded to the Ministry of Solicitor General as required by the Police Services Act, and that the Council Municipality of West Perth allocates additional resources to implement and sustain the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan and be further referred to in the 2022 budget process. Do we have a mover and seconder for that recommendation? Councillor Tinkowski, thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Harold, thank you. Any further discussion or questions on that? Councillor Vink again.
So the resources could be human in nature in terms of programming, but also could be money in nature as well too. And then that would be when you come back for the 2022 budget process. Okay, here's what we want to achieve with this dollars and this human resources.
Yes, through you, Your Worship. Once the executive leadership team has an opportunity to meet, they will lay out more specifics, and they will be able to link the resource needs directly to the priorities that will be achieved in the upcoming year. And there will be a template of targets and achievables and measurables that we will be able to produce to council to demonstrate what is happening. And yes, the resources asked for could be money or could be people. Yes. At this point, Kim, through social services, has committed 0.5 of a position to get this project up and running. In the future, in the next budget year, we'll have to look at how that funding for that position happens.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, ready for the vote then? All those people in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Good, thank you. Kim, I've got to explain something here to you. I had a friend, and this goes back years and years ago. And anyways, his last name was McElroy, but we always called him macaroni. And it just slipped out on me. And I haven't said that for years. So I do hope you appreciate that.
That's okay, through your worship. In the years I've known you, you'd never call me that, but now I will smile every time I see you.
Well, y'all, like I said, I haven't done that for ages. I haven't seen the guy for so long, and it just, that's what we used to call him. It just slipped out. So anyways, that's my boo-boo for tonight, I guess. Anyways, thank you for your presentation. We certainly did appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Good. Okay, moving on then, we'll backtrack up to the Oswego Bayfield Conservation Authority reports, and there's quite a few reports there. Councillor Tam, do you want to highlight anything there? I think we got the full load here this week of everything that you get.
Yeah, we did. And I think we talked about this last month. If we just want to get the link, that's fine too. But anyways, yeah, before you have the minutes of the April 15th meeting, which I wasn't able to attend. And then you have the agenda for this Thursday, May 20th. And I guess one thing to highlight might be that you'll see the meeting only goes to 11, and then there's 2 hearings. So we start at 11, and they allow 45 minutes for each hearing. There's been a lot of hearings and controversy over stuff with the Lakeshore, but before those hearings, there's a report in there, a business side of the minutes on the shoreline protection policy from Jeff Cade. And it hopefully addresses some of these things. It's in the dynamic beach areas, so, which means that the sand goes in and the sand goes out. It just changes all the time. So other than that, if there's anything I can answer, then I would try to do so.
Any questions for Mike on anything there? Cheryl, go ahead.
Not so much a question. I just noticed that all the permits are allowing them to put steel walls, support retaining walls. Is that a good thing, or is it just going to keep pushing it further down the shoreline?
That's a good question. Each one's kind of site specific, Cheryl, and that's part of this dynamic beach area that they're dealing with. So some of them they require this coastal engineering, and some of them they don't. But yeah, there's if one person does it, then sometimes it impacts the property on either side or whatever. So there's a lot of people wanting to protect their properties with the high water and everything, and a lot of controversy over it. And people spend a lot of money to fight the authority.
Again, Cheryl?
Yeah. Just to follow up to that, it just the past week, I know how much the water has gone down, and people are actually gaining a little bit of beach frontage, but that's probably not gonna. The winds will change that.
Yeah, Davin Heinbach there told us that I think it started in November, so that the water started to recede just slightly.
Well, it does go in a cycle, and there's highs and lows, and you know, I've heard different people with cottages, they've talked about it, but I think maybe this past year it was kind of an extreme high to what the usual highs and lows are. So, any other questions for Mike on that? There does appear to be a lot of work being done on erosion control, anyways. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of it is people are more concerned about accessory structures, and that's part of the hang up on this. So
right,
they're trying to deal with that type of thing. It's more than just the residences.
All right. If there's no further questions on Sabo Bayfield, then I have a recommendation here that we accept reports from staff and councillors as presented, and further that all committee minutes and correspondence not specifically dealt with by resolution be received and filed. A mover and seconder for that. Councillor Tam, Councillor Marshall, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you. All right, so we've done the delegation. We have 4 bylaws, and the most of them I think are drain bylaws, but the first one is a collection of actual cost on the Higgerson-Ryan Municipal Drain, which was initiated in Huron East. Bylaw 39 is a collection of costs on the Hagee Municipal Drain. Bylaw number 40 is a bylaw to revoke bylaw 53, being a bylaw to authorize the submission of an application to the Ontario Infrastructure and Lands Corporation for temporary and long-term financing of one or more capital works of the corporation, the municipality of West Perth. And I think Terry explained that, I believe maybe it was the last meeting that she went over that with a bit of detail. And bylaw number 41 is a bylaw to authorize the agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario, represented by the Ministry of Transportation for the Province of Ontario and the Corporation of West Perth. And that's to do with the connecting link and the work on Highway number 8 that'll be proceeding later on this year, we hope. And the recommendation is that West Perth gives first, second, and third and final reading to bylaws 38, 41, sorry, from bylaw 38 to bylaw 41, and final readings on all of those bylaws. And then the mayor and clerk are hereby authorized to sign and affix the corporate seal. So do we have a mover and seconder for those bylaws? Councillor Murray, and seconded by Councillor Rose. Any further questions or discussion on those bylaws? Okay, if not, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. All righty, the announcements are there. We've got a couple upcoming meetings in just hard to believe that it's June already, but yeah, June the 7th will be our next regular meeting. The Earth Corporation, the annual meeting on May the 27th at 7 o'clock. And we need to appoint a person as a designate representative, as a voting representative for that annual meeting. So at this time, we would entertain a motion, and I'm not sure, but I don't think Nicholas can be that because he's a director on that. So it has to be somebody else that is appointed to represent the municipality. Councillor Murray?
So do we nominate you, Walter?
You can
Are you
nominate,
going?
well, you can nominate whoever you wish.
All right, I nominate you.
Do we have any other nominations? Anybody else like to do it? Okay, do we probably should have a seconder then, I guess do it that way. Seconded by Councillor Tam. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? Okay, so that's carried. That gets you all the information you need, Labitza. Okay, very good. All right.
If anybody else would like to attend that, Walter,
yes.
that
we have the Zoom connection here at the municipality. So if you want to sit in, it's not quite as maybe as exciting as when we drove to Ingersoll and had lunch and listened to the annual report, but I guess it's the next best thing. And this is the second time that it's been a Zoom annual meeting. So yeah, but no, you're welcome. Just contact the office and they'll give you the Zoom connection. That's all you'll have to do. All right, the next is a notice of motion. And this was sent out, I believe, before the weekend and from Councillor Marshall. So therefore, it went out ahead of time, so we can actually deal with it tonight. And I don't know, Jeff, if you want to read your motion and get it on the floor, and then we should, I guess, proper protocol would be we'll get a mover and get a seconder, and then we can discuss it. So do you want to read the motion, Jeff?
Sure. The recommendation is, whereas the risk of transmitting COVID-19 in outdoor settings is extremely unlikely, the possibility of transmission to occur outside is, quote, if we had to put a number on it, I would say it's much less than 1%. As quotes from Dr. Aaron Rickman, the fellow Division of Infectious Disease at Penn Medicine in the University of Pennsylvania. And whereas, according to CTV News, Dr. Peter Uni, Scientific Director of Ontario's COVID-19 Science Advisory Table, said outdoor activities like golf, tennis, and beach volleyball are low risk. Quote, science is telling us that safe outdoor recreation is important. And whereas over 40% of the population of Ontario has received one dose of COVID-19 vaccines, and numbers are increasing every day. And whereas all Ontarians over the age of 12 will soon be eligible for the vaccine. And whereas children's and adults' mental health issues have been negatively affected by the repeated COVID-19 lockdowns, now therefore be it resolved that the Council of Municipality of West Perth calls on the Ontario government to open all outdoor recreational facilities, including but not limited to golf courses, skate parks, and tennis courts. And also the government allow for outdoor youth minor sports such as baseball, softball, soccer, and lacrosse to resume.
Okay. Do you want to move that, Jeff?
I would.
Okay. And a seconder is Councillor Rose. And I guess we'll open it up for discussion. And I guess I'll maybe just kind of start it off and we'll go from there, and I'll maybe have some comments later on. But certainly this was discussed in the legislature today. And the decision was that they stay the course. As I believe it was maybe Doug was talking about earlier in the meeting, certainly June the 2nd seems to be the magic date, or depending on what happens with the vaccinations and the numbers, it could be sooner. But anyways, it's on the floor for a council discussion, and I will open it up for discussion, and then I may say a few words towards the end. So, any discussion on this? Councillor Trinkowski?
I noted on the news this evening, just before tonight's council meeting, the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health was quoted in a live press conference, and he said, or he admitted that they had no scientific evidence to support their current position of the lockdown on the outdoor activities mentioned in this motion. So it seemed pretty clear to me what that they just impose this restriction, but they have nothing to base it on.
Hey, anybody else? Councillor Murray.
I guess I feel as a municipality, we should be following the directives from the province, and I think we have throughout this COVID period, and we've trusted our health officials to clarify all those things we've had to do, and I think we as a municipality have done well. I don't think I would support this motion at this time. I think if individuals want to petition the government to change their mind or regarding recreation, I think individuals should do so. But as a municipality, I think we should support the government, whether we agree or not, support the government in what they direct us to. They're in charge of this situation in our province.
Okay, thanks, Anna Marie. It is a provincial decision. It's not a municipal decision, and I'm sure I know I have been asked. I'm sure most of you have all been cornered about opening up the golf course or something like that. But it's not in our jurisdiction to make that decision. And I guess we have been, towing the line, and we've been listening to the health unit all this time. And, I question why we would maybe waver at this stage of the game. Certainly their thoughts are based on I would say science, I guess, as much as anything. Jeff, do you have anything you want to add? I know you've been on some calls with ministry people about this, and anything further to add?
So I would, the only point I would reinforce, and I think, everyone, I certainly wouldn't discourage anyone from having an opinion or from sharing their opinion. I think the worry for the municipality from my perspective, and the advice I would give you, is that if we come out and say we think it's appropriate, or we come out and ask the province to change their position, I think it could be confusing for our residents in terms of what our role is in that. And I think we've really done a good job of staying in our lane, so to speak, as far as what our role is. We've been an implementer for the most part as a municipality, and we've sought advice from the medical officer of health and followed those directions and implemented. And I think that my greatest worry would be that if we were to make a statement on our opinion, that it might be in some way encouraging our residents to not obey the order, or it might be confused in translation about what our ability to influence these choices is. And frankly, we don't have a role in making these choices. We have a role in implementing the decisions, and I would suggest we stay in that lane. But again, I don't want that to be interpreted for a moment that I don't think that individuals shouldn't express what their opinions are to assist the government in formulating policy. I just think that it gets tricky for us in terms of the confusion for our residents. Okay. And that's the advice I would give you as council.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. I know, and Doug can maybe speak to this, we did have a very similar motion at the county. And I said at that time, the problem isn't playing golf. certainly you can social distance yourself and you can wear masks. The problem is before getting to the golf course and what happens after the golf game's over with the social aspect. And I know I've had that discussion with people that have talked to me, and I know good intentions are there, but the fact is that it's the social aspect that is causing us the grief. And certainly South Huron, and I'm not picking on our neighbors, but they had a real blimp in the numbers here, I believe, towards the end of last week, and they've traced it back both to a family get together, a family gathering. I believe it was a birthday or whatever, and the other one was a religious event, whether it was a funeral or what it was. But and certainly on the news tonight, I don't know whether anybody saw it in London. I believe it was 16 people have tested positive, and it's traced back to one funeral. And so COVID is still out there, and on the whole, the numbers are coming down. But it's still out there, and I guess I'm going to end with like I am privy to some confidential information that's out there, and it is out there, and it is expanding, and it does go outdoors as well. So I can't support this to support this motion, but I'm not telling you people how to vote. That's certainly your decision. But like I certainly won't be supporting it. Is there any other comments, Jeff?
Just a few things. Certainly, we see every week other municipalities passing resolutions requesting the province to change their policies on a number of different issues. This week, there's stuff on COVID themselves in our package. So I don't think the motion itself requesting a provincial change in policy is certainly out of bounds from what we see every week or every meeting. The issue is certainly whether we're certainly seeing there's still COVID transmission. These items you're talking about are typically indoor events. Unless we start opening up outdoor stuff for people to be, you're going to start seeing, I think, more and more people doing it, hiding, going to people's houses, going indoors where the danger of transmission is, by providing the recreation activities, getting them outside where it's far, far safer. That's what we're requesting here. The science is pretty clear, and we've been told all along, follow the science. The science says people outside are at virtually, an extremely low rate of risk of transmission. The MOH for the province has said he doesn't, that the science supports opening these back up. The person I quoted in there was from the province's table on scientific table on COVID-19. Again, saying the science is there that we should be having these things open. Trying to predict what somebody might do afterwards is, I'm not suggesting we say open up, people going to separate room or separate, going indoors with people. That's certainly that's where the risk is, and that can happen whether they go out golfing beforehand or play some ball or tennis. Those items are keeping them outside, keeping them where it's safer, I think, is the best course of action. So, and again, we've been told all along to follow the science. We have some clear science here, and we're not following it. So, thank you. That's all I have to say.
Okay, fair point. And I guess not that the mayor gets the last point here, but I go back to.
There's some others, Walter, that want to speak.
Oh, sorry. Okay, who else is here? Oh, sorry, Nicholas. Go ahead.
Walter,
thank you, Anna Marie.
Walter or Doug, at the Perth County Council meeting, you said some similar motion came. You guys have then the access to our medical officer of health. Has she made a presentation on this issue that one way or the other? That because I know recently she was at a Perth County Council meeting.
you want to answer that, Doug, or do you want
Oh,
me to?
she never spoke specifically about, she doesn't speak about specific things like soccer or ball. She says, you know, we're heading in the right direction. You know, this is, we're flying something up a flagpole here, and it's going to go nowhere because they're going to do what they want to do. And we had one, this last meeting, Walter, where they wanted to throw everything out, right? And everybody voted against it.
Right.
Because that was Daryl Hurlick. You can read it on the county council minutes because he wanted to do the same thing. In 2 weeks, we're going to know. I didn't even know a notice of motion could come until I called. A notice of motion is usually for the next meeting. We have a procedural bylaw that allows it to come to this meeting, which is totally different than the county.
And the reasoning, as I said, behind that, Jeff, was because it went out, or Doug rather, it went out on the weekend so that everybody knew it was coming.
I called Jeff and asked him how it got to be different.
Yeah.
He told me because it was out on a Thursday, we got to look at it.
Right.
For the sake of 2 weeks, I'm not too impartial to what's going to go on in the next 2 weeks. We all know why they extended it. The long weekend of May is coming. If there was something mentioned about being in your own health unit, I would have a whim to support it. But as soon as you open up the golf course and everybody comes from Toronto and Kitchener here, it's totally different. Or if it was membership driven, that the members of the golf course could play, or someone who's signed up for Mitchell Ball could play in Mitchell. But just to broadly strike it and say, you can go anywhere and do anything that you want, I'm not in favor of that because that'll attract people from hot zones to our area. That's all.
Okay, other comments? Councillor Bell?
That was probably going to be my comment. I was quickly just breezing through the announcement that was sort of made today after the vote, and I wondered how we felt about how much faith we had in the fact that they do specifically say, even though the stay-at-home order will go till the 2nd, they will start opening things before the 2nd. So I kind of was sort of like that too, for the sake of 2 weeks. You know, do we have faith in the announcement today where they say, despite the fact that the stay-at-home order is going, we will probably start opening before then?
Councillor Tam?
I think if you can read between the lines, I just want to get past the long weekend. It's supposed to be nice, and I'm guessing there'll be an announcement next Tuesday and stuff will start turning the corner.
Okay, other comments?
I think the Ontario government is definitely very aware after the thousands and thousands of people that were protesting in Toronto, and I think they said they had about 3,500 on Saturday protesting in London. I think the government is already very aware that they need to start moving in that direction without us, you know, for the sake of 2 weeks.
The thing that's probably going to help us as much as anything is when they roll out the vaccines, and you know they're rolling them out fairly quickly, and you know I think you know anybody 18 and over currently now can get a vaccine, and the waiting isn't that long. I know my daughter, I think she got in, is it next week maybe, you know, to get a vaccination, so it's fairly quick. Any other comments here? I don't want to flog it here. Okay, it's been duly moved and duly seconded. All those in favor of this motion? Those opposed? Okay, the motion is defeated. All right, we have any other business at this time? Oh, sorry, Councillor Murray. I think Anne Marie. Oh, there you go. Your internet is nothing from you. Okay, I think your internet is.
Nothing from me.
Okay, thanks, Anna Marie. Your internet is breaking up quite badly here. All right, so we have nothing under other business. We have a closed session, hopefully not too long here. And the recommendation is that we proceed into a closed session at 9:15 for the purpose of addressing a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the corporation. Do we have a mover and seconder for that? Councillor Rose, Deputy Mayor Wright, all those in favor? That is carried. We're in.
I think that we're good to go. Just double checking. Okay.
Very good. Okay, there's no direct motions coming out of closed session. So the next item here then is confirmatory bylaw number 42. And it's a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of Corporation of West Perth be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. And that the bylaw be signed by the mayor and clerk and sealed with the corporate seal. Have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Rose, and put your hand up, Doug. I didn't get you the last time. Deputy Mayor Wright. Thank you. All those in favor? That is carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Bell and Councillor Tinkowski. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.